When he was trying to figure out how to catch it, he said, "Daddy's having lobster tonight." Hello and welcome to episode 101 of the Green Outdoors podcast. My name is Kyle.
I'm AJ.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Ryan.
Okay, I've heard of things. You know the guy down the street.
Yeah.
Not the tallest fella. He's got
Mr. Wiggles.
Nope. He got a huge truck though, biggest truck. Well,
This guy. Yeah.
this is not like that, but I got, and we are not sponsored by this company, the coolest ice fishing scooper I've ever seen. Look at this thing.
How big is the cat that you're scooping its litter with that thing?
It's for yourself, man.
yeah.
It's for the human litter box?
Yes.
You look at this and you think it's useful. It'll be good.
The reason why I think it'll be good is a couple things.
Okay.
One, the problem with scoopers, like there's never been a good scooper ever.
Okay.
They don't have walls. They've no walls leads towards like a lot of the slush just
slippage.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff just slipping out of it. But with this sucker, I feel like that won't be the case. And it's got good drainage to get the water out. So when you scoop in, and it's exactly 10 inches, 4 10-inch holes, it says.
Okay.
So when I put it in, our auger is 10 inches. So I should be able to just go in, do one swoop. I think it's going to clear 90% out in 2 swipes. That's what I think.
All right. I trust you.
I'm sorry. I was petting Inu. What's that for?
Enu's our dog. And now you don't get to use it. You get to use old
Snickle Fritz.
Yeah, you get to use the little plastic
You
one.
get to use the ladle technique that's been around since 1805.
Yeah, the one they use for spaghetti.
Worked fine for Grandpappy. Works fine for me.
Always searching for bigger and better things.
One
Happy
time,
with what you have.
Want to hear a funny story? When Jeff and I were in our early teens, him and I were both pretty educated at this point on how to fish, and his grandpa took us fishing with his dad, and his grandpa was very sure, and I think at one point, didn't he have a radio show and stuff, like outdoor radio show?
Like he's an accomplished fisherman. I don't think he ever really did like competitions or anything, but like he'd go out and he'd catch big bass. He'd go out and he'd catch, trout.
Okay.
Oh, he's a big bass man.
So, what is that?
Average guy who enjoyed fishing.
So anyhow, we go
bass
made
fisherman.
no big claims or nothing. I don't know.
We go out with this
Nothing to hate
braggadocious
about
mug. We go out with this braggadocious mug, and he took us out on his boat, and we were pumped to go out on a boat because we were poor, so that was cool. We go out on the boat, and immediately he's like, "All right, let's go out to the deep water," and it's like an early summer, and I was like, "Well, I feel like they'll be feeding in the shallows right now." He's like, "Nope, not in this lake." And we're passing shallows, and the water's crystal clear. And him and I are just seeing huge bass after huge bass running around on the shallows. And I was like, "Can we fish here?" He's like, "Nope, not going there." I was like, "Well, do you think maybe we could?" Nope, we're going out the deep water. We go to the deep water, and we are not catching anything. And the whole time, all I can think about is how many fish were visible that we could have caught. We ended up just getting to the point where we were casting a mile towards lily pads and stuff to get fish. We ended up catching some big bass that day.
Yeah.
Your mom framed a picture of you and I with a fish, and it was on her wall in the living room.
I was hoping that you guys got to go to the shallows and just slay them.
It's all about trying different tactics and going out with different people and learning what works on different lakes.
That's what it's all about.
Always had pictures of himself with big fish.
Oh, because he's a big bass fisherman.
Regular fisher guy.
That's what I think of
guy.
when someone goes, "Oh, I'm a bass fisherman." That's just what I think of.
Oh, yeah, you're so cool.
What's it? There's nothing worse than the sentence when someone's like, "Oh, you got to meet so-and-so. He's a real big hunter."
That's the worst one of them all.
It is the worst.
Oh, you'd love talking to this person. Nope.
I probably wouldn't.
Never would?
Well, I just don't. That's not like, oh, you carry a purse, so you must love everyone that has a purse. It's just not the same.
Nah,
It's not the same bit. I'm excited for this. I'm excited for ice fishing. And we're in Michigan. It was 1 degree last night.
Oof.
And we finally made ice that I think is safe.
Yeah.
The lake that we're going to is completely iced over.
It's going to be, the low is 2 for the next 2 or 3 days. So we should be good.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It'll be a little, but then it warms up next week. I don't know if you saw.
Next week, but not for this
Yeah, but
weekend.
you better soak in the,
Yeah.
You better enjoy this weekend because it might not
enjoy this cold.
Yeah,
might be the only actual ice we have in Lower Michigan, anyways.
It's been pretty awful.
That water's going to be 32 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it will be regardless.
Oh, yeah. AJ's doing a pour plunge.
I am. Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, you
Or you could come
elaborate
hang out
a
with
little.
us and just be on top of the
no
ice. But
kidding.
okay.
I'm like, AJ's doing a porta potty. He's like, yep.
Yep. Doing it.
All right. Well,
Well, I mean, that's
it's a
like-
podcast.
it's the first time I've ever done it. I don't know why I chose to do it, but I committed yesterday, and now I have to do it.
So,
Make
do
sure
you
you-
have any idea what the setup's like? Are you jumping into a hole in the ice?
I would assume with
That's
people,
what a pull-up
That
plunge is.
scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Then don't
But
go.
it's like the skydiving.
I'm not.
It's like
I
the-
won't.
They got some
Yeah.
Navy SEALs there.
You gotta jump in, knowing that you're gonna immediately go into like shock, and you have to like remember to breathe, but not underwater. And there's so many like you panic immediately.
Yep.
And you have to, force yourself to maintain calm because you can have a heart attack.
I will say this.
No kidding.
This
Like
sounds-
that's an actual concern. If
Yeah,
you
good.
fall
This
through
sounds
the
like
ice
fun.
and
I'll
go
do it
in the
tomorrow.
water, they said that you can actually like, panic. So
Well, Joe Rogan says that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna channel Joe Rogan.
Why don't you just go run around in the snow?
It's not the same.
Yeah, man, it's for charity.
It is
Grow
the
up.
same.
Is it for charity?
how
Yeah.
What it cost?
It's free to do it, but you can make a donation. So I donated $10.
Okay.
are you going in? It's only like waist deep.
No,
Or
I
is
think
it-
I'm going. I think I'm jumping in to a
You're
hole.
jumping in, so you're probably jumping and falling into
big
the
hole.
water like 6 foot. So you only got like 6% chance of dying, so you're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the scariest videos I ever watched was a couple who did it, and it was
current.
they did it on a river.
Oh.
And they
Go
perished.
under, gone, just gone.
Why would you?
No.
Yep.
I think this is-
imagine that's how you go out.
I think this is like a big.
that would be a
hole
rough
off the down.
one
You're
one and a
under-
half minutes
You're under the ice and you're
while
you
going
can't-
100 miles an hour and hitting stuff.
Nope.
I've heard a
Jeez.
theory though that if you fall in the ice and you're under and there's not current, like you're in a lake and you get stuck under the ice, that you can almost recirculate air by the air that comes under the ice with you when you fell in. You can go up to those bubbles on the bottom of the ice and like try to suck it back in as a breath.
Yeah, just have the wherewithal to do that. while
Never
you're
tried
drowning.
it, but
Just remember to do that while you're drowning.
There was a book that I read that had a story in it, and I believe it was true, where somebody fell through the ice, and when they did, they took a giant breath right before they did, and then they got knocked unconscious the second they were underwater. It was a kid. And the heart rate slowed down so much that they pulled them out like an hour plus later, and they were live because their
No way.
body shut down.
Whoa.
Yeah, I might want to look that up at the commercial, so don't quote me on it. And it was a book that we read in school. Jeff, you definitely weren't in my reading program, so that was you didn't get that one. But I remember that story.
We'd already moved
yeah.
on to Island of the Blue Dolphins by then.
What was it?
Sixth grade.
Island of the Blue Dolphin.
6th grade. That was when we had it.
That was for
You
him.
remember that
That
book?
was for Jeffrey
Yeah.
and like
Nah, 5th grade.
yeah, he was gifted.
Second.
We were still in elementary school in 5th grade.
He was in a program called Gifted and Talented,
So
which
were
I
we.
remember thinking
And they never moved classes in high school. They were always in the same room.
their bus was different. No, no, it was smaller, because there was less people.
There's not that many smart kids in the school, so it doesn't need to have as big of a bus.
No, he was in something called Gifted and Talented, which was like the brilliant kids or whatever that you knew were going to be space cadets in the real world. But
Is this for
Most
real?
of-
Were you actually?
Yeah,
just
but
end up being
most of
CPAs.
us, I don't think anyone that was in that group is like, oh my God, like some crazy doctor or some like world renowned. It's just
Normal people.
we were gifted and talented in a graduating class of 120
Yeah, it was
kids.
more
It's
or
not
less.
that hard.
in Madison Heights, Michigan.
We're probably average for the rest. I don't
I
know.
remember thinking though, I'm like, what an idiot. All that means is you don't get recess twice a week.
oh, you
they
didn't
would-
get to do that?
Yeah, no,
we got to go off and do cool like
Field trips.
little things like that. We did like do cool puzzles and things, and
Okay.
we were fist fighting over soccer on the playground like the good kids were.
Yeah,
went to space camp.
that's what we did.
The official
Was
one?
that a
the real
yeah,
one?
in
The
Alabama.
commercials?
Was
Yeah.
that
No
due
way.
to that?
I don't remember.
I remember you getting back and talking.
Me and
to
Matt
him.
Luce went.
Yeah, he wouldn't give me
Wow.
like almost any details on it when he got back.
He doesn't do that still.
Yeah.
Space Camp.
Space Command.
Host a podcast. It's
You
amazing.
do
is
that.
that,
They got the power tower. They got the thing
That's
where
in
you.
Huntsville.
Yeah. They got the thing where you spin you to test you for G's.
Yeah,
And they're like, "Don't pick your head up." And what do? I pick my head
just
up.
the Gravitron then?
I was sick for the next like 4 hours.
Really?
I believe
Can't tell
it.
me what to do. Oh God. It wasn't like overtime. It was immediate regret. Oh.
That might
So
be- that might be
describe
me.
it a little better than you did.
It's the spinning the
what you
the,
see in
The
movies?
Gravitron.
Yeah, it's like a big wheel, but you get in it and it spins around like this, and you're on the inside of the wheel spinning around. It's at every.
And it holds you.
Yeah, it's at it. It's there's a Ferris wheel at every.
Yes.
Thing. There's one of these at everything. There's the teacups at every place.
Centrifugal force, I believe.
Yeah, and you're
Wow,
you're
look at
going
you,
around,
Einstein.
and the
Good
force
job.
is pushing you back towards the thing.
We got
Some
another
of-
short bus
some
candidate.
Of them, some of them have like they'll move up and down depending on how fast you're going.
Yep.
Yeah, this didn't have that. It was just. But anyways, yeah. Apparently on those.
Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah, it wasn't that.
Well,
I'm
I
trying
rode,
to describe it. It's a thing that's very common, so I don't get what he
is
doesn't
right.
get about it.
He is right.
well, I rode the space thing at in Disney, and it was a whole simulation, and I was the pilot, and if I didn't press the button at the right time, we would have died. So it's way better
Not
than
really.
Yeah. Well, good for you,
Well,
Jeff, for falling
this
for
place
American propaganda.
had actual old space equipment from some time.
that. No,
before
it didn't.
that-
No,
We all know that wasn't real.
no, that wasn't real.
Neither was his Disney thing.
No, the Disney thing was real.
No,
Yeah,
real.
no, that's real.
We would have all died.
I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah,
That
he
moon-
saved the day.
That moon stuff.
He saved the day. What's the movie I want to watch again? The real complicated
Interstellar?
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to.
he had a chance.
dude,
He had a
that-
chance on the flight.
Well, we get on the flight. It's 2.5 hours long. We get on a flight that's an hour and 45 minutes, and I didn't realize it. Or no. We had an hour and 45 left. I could have had watched
Correct.
it on a
you
3-hour
started
flight.
Goonies.
No, Gremlins.
Gremlins. You're right.
I watched Gremlins.
I've never seen Gremlins.
So
I remember loving it, but it was a little bit of a letdown.
that's
this
one of the
time.
best films. Not Gremlins. Interstellar is one of the best films ever made. Also, they followed like the laws of gravity and physics to make that movie. So they brought in physicists to
Nice.
make sure it was all relatively sound.
Big
Yeah.
production.
Like,
it-
what would happen if you were able to?
Yeah,
come up with-
if
'cause obviously we don't do
they're
it.
all theories.
Yes.
but
Yeah.
if the theories were to play out, this is how it would work.
Funny thing like that I just saw on TikTok the other day. Seth MacFarlane, the guy who made Ted, the movie with the teddy bear.
Family Guy,
Yeah.
Yep.
He
better known
More
for
famously,
He called and talked to who's that
Elon Musk.
physicist?
Oh, the-
Neil
Hawkins?
deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
He sucks.
And asked him
He
about
does suck.
the what the sky would look like in Boston or wherever they were at if you were looking northeast in this day in 1985 or whatever it was, and the sky that little Mark Wahlberg wishes to for the teddy bear to come to life was an accurate depiction of what the sky would have looked like where the stars were.
oh,
Correct.
really?
For a comedy movie.
yeah.
And he goes, and that is why Ted is more, like space accurate than the Titanic, because they didn't do that in Titanic.
That's called Hollywood wasting money right there.
Yeah.
Ironically, I woke up this morning and the first reel I saw today was a scene from Titanic.
Nice.
Yeah, and I hadn't
Good movie.
I hadn't thought about that movie in years, and now I've heard it twice in one day.
I think about it every day.
We shouldn't go on boats.
Why were we all so affected by Titanic when we were in 7th grade? Such a big deal then. The movie came out in band. We
We
played
were
the
a lot
song.
younger than that when it came out.
I don't remember it being a
We
big
did the
deal
song
for
in
me.
band.
Oh, okay.
It was a big deal then to me.
The Titanic happened in 1902.
Ah, shut.
1914, stupid.
I think it was 12.
I don't know.
It was 12.
April 14th, 1912.
1912.
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't know the April part, but I knew it was 1912.
Anyhow, Jeff.
Stupid.
What,
Go ahead.
didn't you play trumpet or something?
I did play trumpet,
Yeah.
That's right.
and my heart
What'd you
will
look
go
to
on.
me
Yeah, that's
for?
right.
You got information.
Jeff, you had
on
a
some
story on
stuff.
ice fishing. I've been dancing around it for 4 hours, and you won't do
I know.
the story.
It's like he doesn't know he's
Do
on
the
a
bit.
podcast.
Do
You've
the
done it
bit.
101
You said you were gonna-
times.
Dance for me, clown.
Okay, fine.
I had to scoop her out. What else do you need? A reference? We talk about what's the word?
Can't pre-produce anything.
How about a nice transition for
Isn't
what?
that nice?
Where's the silly string?
What?
Enough.
Name your top 10 transitions, and I'll poke a hole in every single one of them. Well, diving into another topic here. So, talking about ice fishing, trying to come up with a good topic, and was thinking, okay, we're getting ready to go ice fishing. What can I talk about? Do you remember when we were out on Lake St. Clair? What?
Go ahead.
Do you remember we were out on Lake St. Clair? We were spearing for pike.
Perch.
And was it perch? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, anyways, we're out there spearing, and I sit and look at this thing, what I think is a rock.
I was
probably
sitting,
the
I was-
first.
I was sitting with Uncle Jim. You were in a separate shanty with your dad and Mikey, possibly Zach, but if he was there, he was forgettable. He didn't say much.
He doesn't say much. So I'm sitting there, and we're looking down at fish. We got our spear ready. And I'm looking at this rock, and I'm like, did it move? No, it didn't move. That's got to be hey, it moved. What is that? So I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and it's like a little bulbous, and it looks like it curls down by what I thought was the back.
You know, like your
Yeah, you
So
know.
I thought
Everyone knows.
I thought it was a crayfish, like a big crayfish.
How
I
big?
believe-
Like the size of your fist?
Maybe these 3 fingers.
Okay.
when
So,
he
like-
was trying to figure out how to catch it, he said, "Daddy's having lobster tonight."
And I sit there and I'm looking at it, and I'm
That's
like,
great.
I think, can you spear? So I'm looking up, can you spear? Which, who would attempt to spear crayfish? What?
The DNR manuals are not that detailed.
Yeah, but so I'm looking. I end up not going for it, and I'm glad I didn't, because it eventually moved. It was a mud puppy.
What?
Have you ever seen a mud puppy?
I've heard of a hush puppy.
Nice.
It's
We ain't got no time for that crap.
It's a
You
sound.
know, hold on. Do you know that quote?
No.
Anybody?
uh,
It's the movie that Tiffany talks about all the time because her peepaw was at the thing.
any more than that?
Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, okay.
Where he's
I've seen
like,
it.
"You want anything? Hush puppies, Daddy. We ain't got no time for that crap." Have you ever seen it?
No.
You would enjoy
It's
the interactions between the sheriff and his son very much. You would
Okay.
enjoy that.
I had never seen the flick though.
It's a good. I watch it every Saturday for 15 years. So that was
What a bizarre.
Transition.
and we had to talk about it.
Yeah, right. What a stupid way to start talking about your story. Hang on, your story's important, but first, Smokey and the Bandit from 1974. You seen that?
is it 74?
I
don't know.
idea. No, I've never seen it.
Really? Your dad didn't make you watch it every Saturday?
No,
No. What about Good, Bad, and the Ugly?
nope.
Okay. Anyhow, we have different lives.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So, anyways,
Sand puppy.
I'm glad I didn't spear it because it was a mud puppy, which is a very big salamander. They grow to be like a foot long.
Whoa.
Yeah.
They got
People think it's
They're
people
big.
think of it
They
as a
gotta be
fish.
No one's seen a salamander newt in 40 years.
They're all over.
20,
I did.
20.
There was
They're
one in my
found-
basement.
Recently?
Yeah.
Oh, that. Okay, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I have like a
No one with a house made before 1800.
my house was not built then.
Yeah.
Thank you very
It's
much.
1850.
I'd like to remind everybody in this room, I fully own that house. So,
And it's
if anyone wants to speak up, they can say something about owning a house.
What?
Is your name on the title?
No,
Okay.
Oh, that was mean.
The deed.
it doesn't matter.
Anyhow, my basement's perfectly fine. There's no water sitting in it, and in the summertime it gets a little like damp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michigan basement.
Well, it's not that bad though. It's got clean walls.
I don't know that I went in the basement.
It's but anyhow, we have a dehumidifier and everything down there, and
So it's gross.
I go down there.
You live in a gross house. We got it.
1800s. What do you expect?
I go down there to this perfectly dry basement, and in the middle of the floor is this little guy just chilling. And he like turns his head and looks at me, and I go to pick him up, and he just like curls in like a half circle, and then he's his mouth is open,
Inu does
reaching
the
at
same
my
thing.
thumb, and I just went and put him outside. And
Yeah, I have not seen a newt or a salamander.
Keep in mind-
So
Since
what
since
was it? A mud
2000.
puppy or was it a what was it?
it was the one with.
We're
the
not doing your
yellow-
story.
The yellow.
No, just kidding.
It was not a mud puppy.
No.
It was the one with the yellow dots on it.
It's like
I
highlight.
got a
no
picture
idea.
somewhere.
I got nothing.
So they can be a foot long. Sorry.
So anyhow, that's the last time I
So-
saw one.
A lot of people think they are fish.
Yeah. Well, they have these really. Have you ever seen an axolotl?
Yes.
It's the little salamander-looking guy that you see in fancy fish tanks. That's got the little. It
Yeah.
looks like little tree branches coming off its face.
Yep.
Lily asked for one
It's
for
like
Christmas.
that. It's one of the only amphibians that doesn't go through metamorphosis, like tadpole, the frog. Most amphibians do that. This just stays the way it is. It maintains its gills, so it lives underwater.
Wow.
And you can't fish or hunt for them in Michigan though.
Are you serious?
Real bummed, yeah. Yeah, you're not allowed unless you get approval from the director of the DNR. So
Mud
maybe we could
puppy.
do that.
No,
But
dude,
Mud
I'm going to tell you right now, there is a culture based around killing those things.
Yeah.
Really?
Really?
Dude, I remember as a kid going ice fishing with my dad and walking back in, and 3 or 4 shanties on the way back in on Lake St. Clair had 2 or 3 outside their shanty, because people would catch them and kill them and leave them on the ice to die.
Why? That sounds terrible.
Something like
Hey, you ever seen one? They're gross.
the same mentality with pike.
I was just gonna say.
Same mentality as like carp.
Yeah.
That's how they would take it.
Garbage.
It's like it's a garbage fish. Get it
Like
out of there.
that one guy
But it's
that
a
we went with.
salamander.
But like people think it's a fish even upon looking at it.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they're just being dumb.
It's a salamander, but its tail has a little bit more fin to it because it lives underwater, so it has to be able to move itself around. So I could kind of.
What do they
see it,
eat?
But anything that they can get their little faces on.
Yeah, and that's why people
Crustaceans.
people kill 'em.
Little invertebrates.
Are they native?
Yeah, they live all throughout the Midwest, like Michigan down to the very northern tip of Alabama.
Can you
like
eat
New
a
York
salamander?
to-
I feel like the meat would be gummy.
You can, but no one recommends it.
You did some Googling on that?
They said you
Oily.
get a nice a plank of wood. You take the
Oh, you're doing the thing.
you
I can
take the
smell it a
mud-
mile
you
away.
take the mud puppy. You cut it open. You remove the entrails. You can put whatever you want on it.
I
Oh,
hate
it's-
you for this.
Put it on the stove. You cook it real nice, and you take it and you throw away the thing and you eat the board.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
I
okay.
smell. As soon as he said "get out of wood plank," I'm like, "You son of a-"
You're a piece of garbage.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah,
I-
some kind
yeah.
of little amphibian guy.
You should have kept him.
It's a gecko.
Newt or
Oh yeah, Jenna asked too.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
what are
I
you
can't
saying?
believe they didn't stay in your house.
Yeah,
Knowing her.
not staying in the house.
I'm
Little
surprised.
slimy lizard.
Why was it just in the
matches
middle of
the
your
basement.
I have
basement?
no idea.
They live.
Just
They
keep
live. As a kid, I used to go around at my up north was my uncle's property, and we'd go and roll fallen trees, and you'd find them under. They they're nocturnal, and they'll live under stuff
Okay.
and hide from predators during the day. This is regular salamanders,
Right.
and then they'll come out at night and eat whatever they're going to eat. So these things, mud puppies, will live either in lakes or like streams, places where there's moving water. And you go and you flip over rocks, and you'll find them. They're like catfish. They burrow,
Wow.
under rocks, and they'll hang out there, and then come out at night. And
Foot long.
What's
huh?
the teeth situation?
I don't know. I don't
If you
think
were to
they
weigh
have 'em.
if you were to weigh a foot long one, what would your guess be? Because they're stocky.
pound and a half.
Yeah, they're like stocky.
Yeah, they're like trout. You don't want to hold them. If you do find one, you don't want to hold them for too long because their skin is very
That's what protects them.
delicate.
they don't
Like discolors?
there is some gas exchange through the skin, but they mostly breathe with their little.
Oh.
Looking
They
at a
have
picture,
like full things that they move around in the water to breathe. It's nuts. There's a
so they're
picture
like
of
the
it right here.
axolotl.
Put up a picture right here.
I'm looking at a picture right
Oh,
now. I can
oh, I
see
moved.
why. It almost looks like
I'm
the
not doing that.
not the dog. Is it the dogfish? What's the other one that looks like a snake in the water?
That's what we're talking about.
No. It's
Oh, you're talking about snakehead.
do we have that?
Snakehead or bowfin? Which one? Are you
Bowfin.
Okay.
It kind of. I can see how it kind of would resemble something like that.
Yeah, it just has legs.
It just has
And
legs.
Little,
Yes. It's a little
Yeah.
freaky looking.
yeah.
Well, anyhow, anyone who was anybody was killing them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't like that.
Now, I have never been, and my dad has never been somebody who's just killing things to kill them.
Yeah.
After.
That was like that guy.
Except those people.
That was like that guy when we went out for walleye that one time, and we caught a.
Oh, Dr. Drew. It's
What
been
was
long
that?
enough. We can probably.
Yeah.
I don't even think now.
No. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
Sad story.
Yeah. People.
Oh, yeah.
People. I never understood killing things for the sake of killing things, just because. I don't know.
They don't
I've
like
seen
it.
some
They
really-
don't want it there. That's their water, and that shouldn't be here. You
Yeah,
know.
they definitely
Like
think
I
that.
get it
They're
for
the
like
judge, jury,
for
and
like
executioner,
for like
too.
Asian carp, invasive species. I get it, but like just because you don't want to catch that because you don't like it doesn't mean you should hurt it. And then like,
Well,
what
even the Asian
boot
carp
it.
get utilized. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people who do that find somebody to take them to put them in gardens or
I got
or
two
something.
in my freezer right now.
I don't know why.
We had to do a cooking segment, so I saved one, and then we never did a cooking segment.
We're gonna be doing one soon, so works out.
I got one to spare. Just in
I talked
case.
to Chummy today.
Yeah.
He went out fishing for crappie, ice fishing, and hammered monsters. AJ, I'll send you the picture to put up on the screen.
And how do you pronounce his name?
Reeb. His name's Reeb, or no, it's Reeb, isn't it?
Reeb.
I always said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I gotta say the right thing for
We
History
insisted.
Channel.
Did he correct us
Yeah.
the last time we were there?
You know me though. I don't hear that.
Well, it went.
I don't want none of that. I call you this. That's what you are now.
Well, no, it went into the show, and he saw it, and he was like, "That's really cool, but it's pronounced this way."
There's nothing we can do about it now.
He never said his last name right. Like there would,
Yeah.
I can't really blame him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also his first name is Aaron, and he spells it the girl way.
Really?
ERIN.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
I don't know.
I've never seen that before.
Is that for sure a girl way? I don't.
I thought it was.
Typically.
I thought it was AARON.
I guess all the boy Aarons I've known were AAR.
How do you do it?
E? No, A.
Yeah,
What'd you just say?
E.
but it's not. It's
Sure.
It's AA.
It's double A.
So your name's
Show us your
EJ?
nails.
It's AA.
EJ Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
AA Ron.
TNA.
Is that what it is, Jordy? Anyhow, great story, Jeff. But I would be interested in catching one and looking at it, but now I'm going to yell at people if they're killing them.
Yeah, that makes me sad. That's
Yeah.
kind of a cool thing to have roaming around.
Yeah.
I want to see one.
They were all the rage. when we
I
were
could
kids.
really,
really neat.
we really got to watch the girls bow fishing though, because I could see that making their radar for sure.
Oh,
they are
100%.
those little killers.
They don't.
You're
they
like, no,
don't-
and they're just they
yeah,
see
I mean,
movement.
yeah, they get amped up about a 4-inch bluegill.
It's
If
nice
they're
because I
down
can't hit
there-
anything right now, but
Well,
once they get good,
They don't really move that much unless you're getting in at them.
Oh,
like if
okay.
you flip the rock they're under, they'll move. But I doubt they'd make a big fuss if we were just going over them with the boat.
the girls will shoot them. I'm telling you right now.
Would you eat
I don't
crappie like
think
you
they'd
would
see 'em.
perch?
Crappie would be like bluegill, or it's a white meat. It's very good.
Yeah.
It would taste very similar to bluegill except much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You've had it before. You probably just don't remember.
Okay.
You had that. You at one night at Dean's we had striper,
That's right.
crappie,
Yeah.
and catfish.
But
Yeah.
to be fair, you wouldn't recognize them because those crappie were the size of your head.
Mm-hmm.
So were these ones.
No.
Yeah, very impressive.
Did we have that at Brian Baker's as well?
We
Where
did
did he
catch crappie at Brian Baker's. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, what we had at Brian Baker's. Remember the fish he cooked us?
Yeah.
Those were crappie.
Okay.
Nice.
It was really
You
good.
loved it.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, the crappies. As far as
Done right. You know.
what I like about crappies too is they got the big lip, so it's kind of like the bass lip where you can put your thumb in. It's really easy to get the hooks out. Number two, they get bigger than bluegills or sunfish or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
Number three, a lot of sunfish and bluegills get worms or mites, and you'll see them like the black specks on them and stuff. And when you're cleaning them, you kind of got to go around them or knock them out.
Yeah.
They won't hurt you, but I don't like worms.
Safe.
so.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Crappie, I've never seen them have it.
Yeah.
I think they're way more beautiful.
They're so cool looking.
It's
They're like
cool.
iridescent,
It's
purpley, black, silver.
like
nuts.
leopard,
Yeah.
like leopardy, and they
Nothing like a
they
leopard.
get bigger, and their skin is thinner, so cleaning them is easier. So all in
okay.
all, I think but it takes them a little bit. They have to be a little bit bigger to get thicker, whereas
Okay.
bluegills and sunfish can stock up a little quicker. But I would crappie are my favorite. The other thing is about ice fishing for them. It's always kind of fun. Is what I've noticed in my life is when you're fishing for bluegills, it's like the bluegills come in and they'll look at it and they'll play with it. Dude, I'm getting so jazzed for this weekend. But they'll come in and they'll play with it and poke at it and stuff, and then maybe grab it, maybe not. Crappie is like, hi, bye, and they swam through the
Really?
hole and they got it in their mouth and they're gone. And that is, I've seen that consistently at almost all inland lakes. That's the behavior of crappie I've seen.
Interesting.
Way more
I agree with
aggressive,
that.
and it makes it way easier.
Are those at your lake this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Crappies? Whoa.
Okay.
Crappie, perch, walleye, pike. Dude, oh, I'm so excited. I can't even explain it. We're going to be
We
ice
haven't
fishing.
gotten to go once yet this year.
I know.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to
Rough.
a private lake I've wanted to go to my entire life, and we're finally getting the opportunity to go on it. And it's we're going to be able to go Saturday and Sunday. I'm going both days. It's funny because Abby was like, she doesn't know that I know what she was doing, but I kind of blew it off. But she was like, why is it that everyone seems to ice fish on like Sunday mornings? Like, why do they go in the mornings? Can't they go to church first and then fish? And I know she's really asking me to go to church first and then fish, but it ain't happening. We got 2 days this year, and I'll
kidding.
say a couple
Blame it on
words.
me.
We got 2 days. Okay? Yeah, I'll blame it on you. You're not even there.
AJ said.
He goes, I'm coming.
Cold punch.
Yeah. You can cut me a hole. I need to look up if we can spear pike. I want to do it all. We got all the tip ups, and because there's walleye in this lake, I don't know how to target them though. I don't know how they target them in this lake. And she was talking about how they all seem to go to the center deep area, like everybody just goes in one spot. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything because the lake is so long and so many nooks and crannies and
Yeah,
crevices
yeah.
that I'm gonna look at a map. I'm going to spend Thursday night doing topographical maps and looking at everything and making a game plan and where we're going to go and what we're going to do.
Everybody being in one spot, you can't trust that, because that could have been no one caught nothing yesterday, but one guy caught a big one, so everyone's over there. But he caught that on a fluke, and no one catches nothing.
That's what I said.
You got to use the main one.
That's why I said it's like a sheep thing where everyone's like, it turned out good one day, so then everyone kept just doing that.
Depends on the temperature, depends on how the water's moving, whatever's going on. You got to just move around until you find a spot.
A lot of ice fishermen have no clue what they're doing.
There's a bit to that. It's like when you're sitting in your shanty and you're looking at another shanty and they've been there for 4 hours, you're like, they got to be getting something. They know something that I don't know. We should go over there. It's like you imagine, but they could be as stupid as you sitting there
and saying the same thing
about
you.
Yeah, and like you have this, when you go out as a fisherman,
that is a bit.
You like have this assumption that the other shanties all know. And they don't, and like in some ways, you kind of want to follow the crowds. In some things, if you know nothing, but I'm not going to. I've got a couple ideas because, like for instance, the property's on a cove, and that cove is small, but in the middle it's 12 feet deep. Well, she goes, nobody ever fishes it. I go, there's 3 retiree houses around it where they live in Florida that time of year. They don't, of course they don't. I'm like, do you catch fish off the dock in the summer? They're like, oh yeah, all the time. I'm like, oh, they caught. She was bragging about how big the catfish was, and she's like, humongous. And I look, it was just a decent-sized bullhead, but there's bullheads too. But
hey,
it's nice.
You know, that's cool.
Do you think someone's gonna be going around checking tents?
Yep.
Man.
And I'm gonna be ready.
That guy's what a job.
I know.
You know what I think is funny is the way you just described it. Ice fishing people are like the exact opposite of most other people in the outdoor industry.
How do you mean?
Everyone's looking at everyone else going, God, I bet he knows something I don't know.
That's funny.
I hate him.
That is funny.
Great.
Like you were saying though, like the people like following, if you don't know anything, kind of following people around. Seemed like lake trout was kind of like that when we went and did that a while ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
everyone was just
Yeah, but
in
when
one
did we
spot.
catch them? When we tried a new spot, we were all alone.
Right. But clearly, like people do catch them there.
Right.
But it was kind of like that where everyone just like piled on top of each other right there.
Yeah.
We did this one inland lake recently where we had gone there. We've actually filmed the ice fishing episode there, Camping Coach Dave's place, and we would always go in this one area and we did okay. We moved to a new area and we started getting monsters, and we went to an area no one else.
36-inch pike through the ice.
Almost 37. Me and Lily caught it.
And that guy came and lost his mind on us.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy's
It's
in
those people that just want to.
Yeah.
He owns this lake. This is his lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. You have a racing jacket. You're the coolest.
But I think the only
No,
reason
bro, it's because he's got the biggest house,
I think the reason why he ended up being nice to me is because I challenged him right back though
which has never happened to him.
in his life.
Trust isn't built in a day. It's built over time. The early hours and the late nights. It's built by doing the work and pushing the limits every day. Because the promises we make are the promises we were built to keep.
The Greenway Outdoors is brought to you by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Motor Trend's Truck of the Year for the 3rd year in a row. And by Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. Tracker Boats, fish the finest. And by these other fine sponsors. But the idea that we get to go out and go fishing at this new lake, I'm looking for coves, I'm looking for deep spots, I want to find shallow water, hoping to find weeds. We now have that Markham underwater camera. That's going to be very helpful, so I can go down and actually assess and look. The water in the summer is very unclear.
Really?
So I don't think it's going to be crystal clear while we're out there. I don't know, and especially considering it was so windy and it finally just froze over. Normally once a lake is frozen over for a while, everything will kind of settle to the bottom. But when it hasn't been frozen over for a while, it tends to be pretty churned up like chocolate milky, so you won't be able to see. But with the camera, we can put it down on the bait and at least get an assessment of like where the weeds are and stuff. I'm going to be looking for like 5 to 10 foot deep, and then looking for holes near there, and then putting baits really down deep in the holes, and then trying different parts of the water column. I'm setting up half of our tip-ups with walleye minnows and really little hooks. Actually, I would say a quarter of them. The other ones, I'm going to go really small hooks and giant minnows, still setting them deep. because we've caught giant pike or a walleye that way. And then I'm going to set some pike ones, the other half. I'm going to set about halfway down, 40% down the water column with big hooks and big bait. And we'll spread them out and we'll just see what happens. But I'm going to try all the different water column things to try and get an assessment, because we know there's a lot of walleye in there, and like people are catching big walleye, 28 inches, 30 inches, stuff like that.
Because they run. There's a river that's attached to that I've spent some time on. Yeah, and people like they're there. Yeah. Like there's walleye, and they're nice walleye.
Yeah,
it's such a shame.
Are you coming at all?
We'll see. If it is, it'd probably be Sunday.
I'm hoping Abby's mom cooks for us Sunday, so that would be the day to be there.
Then I won't have to. I can actually eat it instead of just seeing a picture.
Yeah.
What do you think is worse? Because we now get access to this lake. How exciting we get to go for all these fish. What do you think is worse? Going this weekend and finding a great spot and fishing it, but only being able to ice fish it for 2 days, and then you got to wait till next year? Or finding several good spots that might be good, and now you're more confident of the layout of the lake, and then maybe we get to fish it some more times this year?
All I care about is instant gratification of fish on that day.
Yeah, you know how you are.
Fish and nothing else.
I'm not out here for an experience. On Saturday, it's supposed to be like 20 degrees as a high and a low. Sunday, it's going to be a high of 34, so that'll be a nice day.
Yeah. My favorite is after it's been frozen for a while, and then it's like 55 on a day, but you're going out ice fishing because the ice is still like 2 foot thick. You're in a T-shirt or like a long sleeve shirt, and you're ice fishing.
And
it's great.
The bite is always unreal that day. You'll have 30 flags that day.
At one time we went out, we did that. I'm in a long sleeve T-shirt.
23 flags in 4 hours.
The ice was crystal clear, so you'd hook one and you'd watch the fish freaking out like 20 feet away, and it's 55 out. It was the greatest day.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Other than, was it your boots that weren't great?
My feet got a little wet, but who cares? It's 55 out.
It's like that thin layer of water across the whole thing.
It wasn't thin. It was like ankle deep water after halfway through the
day.
Yeah,
it got pretty wet.
It was so weird though, because the ice was so clear you could see the fish coming, and you're fighting them, but at the same time, there's like water on the ice, so it created like a little bit of an optical illusion. The ice is clear, and the fish is fighting. And I remember fighting that. Remember, I got that 28-inch pike that day, and at that time that was big for us. And I was like, oh my gosh, look over there, and you see it going like.
That's cool.
It was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that won't be this weekend.
So go ahead, tell your story.
It's not a story. It's actually really it's on the subject of water, not shallow water like you guys are going to do, but very, 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 very deep water. I learned about this a few days ago, and I dove into it more today, and it has to be one of the more interesting things I've ever learned about nature. So in the deeper parts of the ocean, it's like a desert. There's not a lot there. There's no structure. There's not a lot of animals. If there is, they're few and far between, just because there's not a lot going on. And
no structure.
No structure.
Ocean's like a desert. I don't get it, but okay, move on.
It's an underwater desert.
Sounds like a song.
He's being artistic, I guess.
I'm going to read that a lot. I have a lot of facts here about what this is. Almost all the nutrients that animals receive down there is from debris that falls down from the surface.
Fish poop.
Well, they call it marine snow.
I almost said
marine snow.
Marine snow is what it's called.
It's poop.
I think it's an assortment of those sorts of things, plus dead animals.
Stuff dropped from cruise ship goers.
Probably. All that sort of stuff. It's called marine snow, and it slowly floats to the bottom. However, sometimes all the little critters down there get a big feast, and the big feast is a whale.
That's perished.
The whale has died. It floats to the surface because it's full of gas. It's like a normal fish. It floats up for a while. The sharks are feeding on it, and then once it's able to release the gas, we've all seen the videos of them exploding.
Never seen it.
It floats to you have never seen it?
No.
You ever seen Hancock? Stupid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were like bringing one through it was like Thailand, some city. They were bringing this whale on the bed of a truck through to bring it to a different spot.
Kill people?
In the middle of the city, This thing exploded like a bomb. Everything got covered with blood and guts and rotten whale.
Oh my god.
It was crazy.
It smelled the same
And
after.
that was how the zombie apocalypse started.
I'm gonna look it up.
So these dead whales, once they sink, it's called whale fall. They sink to the bottom. Whale fall.
Marine hail.
Nice. I like it.
So researchers found that whale fall is equivalent to roughly 2,000 years of marine snow within an area of 50 square meters. So in that 50 square meters,
50 square meters is kind of a lot.
one whale is equivalent to 2,000 years worth of
snow?
nutrients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeez.
So that's like an immediate oasis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let him tell the story.
Relative, immediate, and also not immediate.
Just let him get through it.
My God.
So whale fall is a hot spot for something called adaptive radiation. Very strange word. I was confused by it because it didn't seem like it fit.
Radioactive.
Adaptive radiation is the process by which organisms rapidly diversified into a multitude of new forms when a new resource is available. So once this new resource is available, the species that currently exist down there, once they get to it, it allows for them to grow almost into a new species and adjust to that new ecosystem.
Their environment's all of a sudden wildly different. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's where they, based on the information I read, it's where they find a majority of new species is on the whale fall because of this adaptive radiation.
It's a good
Super
band-name.
interesting. Yeah, it is actually.
Wow. So they're it's almost like creating, like you say, new species down there.
It's creating a whole new world.
That would make sense because when James Cameron went down during his ascend down, he said that they had discovered multiple new species just from on camera.
Right, and so because there's nothing going on down there, it's like everything's at such a slow pace on this desert, ocean desert, that nothing really happens. You just kind of sit there and maybe
you'll see
something
something?
falls on me,
Yeah,
and I get a little bit of food. We'll
No
see.
light. No light.
And so when this happens, they're able to really flourish and
It's like an ugly guy at the bar just hoping.
yeah, basically.
Open.
So when it's on the surface, it's eaten by the sharks, birds, and fish. Once the gases escape, it sinks. We've been through all this. Moving on to the next page.
Scrapes.
To be classified as whale fall, it has to settle at a depth deeper than 1 kilometer.
Oh.
So nothing. If it's
Like
not deeper than
three-quarters of a mile.
that must reach like a different classification within the ocean. As far
Otherwise,
as depths
it's a
go.
beached whale like you're.
I wonder if at that depth the pressure is different enough that it does something different to the whale.
Oh, like it breaks down differently?
I
Yeah,
think
maybe.
the species that exist below that depth are different, and so that's what is creating this whale fall ecosystem.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just kind of getting some more of those
So
surface fish.
the whale fall is about the ecosystem. It's not the name of the whale actually falling.
Correct. It's more of like what is taking place, which is a 4-stage process of this whale decomposing.
And you're only on number 1?
I haven't even reached one number 1. So
So funny.
stage 1 is called the mobile scavenger stage.
Okay.
So that consists of hackfish and sharks, and they show up within hours. They can smell it coming down, so they're able to kind of hone in on it and locate. And they have videos of this. If you look it up, it's the craziest looking thing of them just shredding this thing down there.
Yeah.
And the hacksaw fish, I don't know. Do you guys know anything about the hacksaw fish?
Not the hack.
Jim Duggan, yeah.
It's kind of
Nice.
it kind of looks like a
That's
eel. It's very eel-like looking, and
Okay.
it has like a saw-looking mouth. And what it does is it latches onto the whale, and then it ties itself in a knot at its butt end, all the way up at the back of itself. It ties a knot, and it runs that knot down its body to the mouth, and runs the knot over the top of its head to use as like a pry tool. If you've seen like a python, like kind of like tying itself in a knot, it's a little bit like that, where it just like glides right down its body, and then it rips off a giant piece and eats it.
Oh, I see.
That's
now.
insane.
I see.
So the sharks and the hacksaw fish will eat a majority of the flesh, along with other critters. There's octopus that live down there, and they'll hone it on it too and
With their
eat a lot of
beaks.
it. So with their beaks, and so majority of it is eaten that way, but there's still a lot of little leftovers, and that brings us to stage 2. Stage 2 is called the enrichment opportunist stage. So this is even more octopus, crustaceans, and other small organisms are picking up the little guys,
Licking the bones clean.
basically. Yeah, getting all in all the cracks and crevices.
Rib dinner.
And that's basically stage 2. So you're having
So stage 1 is all the big guys that come in out of nowhere. Stage 2 is the microbe ones, like the ones eating all the.
not microbe, because then we do get down to that.
Okay.
So imagine this process just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then it ends up getting bigger. So in stage 2, we have the little guys, crabs and shrimp, just crawling around and doing
Getting
their
what
thing.
they can.
And then in stage 3, which is called the sulfophilic stage. This is the longest stage of decomposition of the whale being eaten, where it can last up to 50 years. Most of the bigger scavengers, so the hacksaw, the sharks, they've all left because there's not a lot to grab for them. So they've moved out for the most part. And now the bacteria is starting to move in, and it eats lipids found in the bones. And a byproduct of the lipids are sulfides. And so the sulfides, when they come out of the bacteria, it settles in, on average, an 8-foot radius around the whale. And it creates like another bacteria, like a bacteria mat on the ground around it, that is able to allow clams and other species to live. So now they move on to these sulfide mats, and it's created an even larger ecosystem.
What about the sulfide mats makes it livable for the clams and stuff? What does it do for them?
It's creating more nutrients for another species to be able to use what that bacteria had just previously eaten from the lipids off the whale. So bacteria eats the lipids. When they're getting ready to poop, they poop out the sulfides. The sulfides go up into the water, and then it settles back down around,
Inu loves this story.
Sorry, I
back
stopped
down
patting.
around the whale, and then that's when these other crustaceans, clams, and everything are able to move in, because it just creates more nutrients. And you have to think about, too, now you have all these other animals moving in. They're not all going to live for a super long time, so they're going to die, and you're almost creating an endless cycle of life just around this one whale.
That is super interesting.
So sulfides creates the perfect ecosystem.
I didn't see the bacteria poop feeding the clams. I didn't see that coming.
And so
I'm Night Shyamalan over here.
That's good.
At the end, they were really just in a pool.
so if you look up any of these videos and you get to this phase of decomposition in any of the videos you watch, it's going to look like it's covered in algae, and you know how algae looks like, has that fuzzy, flowy look.
Yeah.
It looks like hair. Well, that's what they're going to look like, but if it's red, it's actually a worm, and the worm is usually called the Ossidax worm, and they don't have eyes, and they don't have mouths. And it looks like if you looked at it real close up, it looks like almost like a tree, where it's like a narrow stalk and then it flares up almost like branches. Mm-hmm. It looks like the gills we were talking about on the salamanders.
Jeez.
And the way they eat is they have roots that grow down into the bones, and then they spread out into the bone marrow, and they eat the fats and oils in the bone marrow. And then that brings us to stage 4, the reef stage, and it can consist of solid mineral remains of the whale. So basically, just the things that you can't consume. Mm-hmm. And it's believed that the remains can last for hundreds of years and create structure and homes for many species for intense amounts of time, hundreds of years.
Yeah, you got
because
crabs and stuff dying and
like that. Because of this whole process, you have a newfound ecosystem that is like in perpetual motion on itself. Huh. So that's whale fall. And I thought
that's
it was
pretty cool.
It was like the unheard of thing that I never heard of it before.
No, that wasn't in our textbooks.
No,
it's like
nothing
the ocean
cool.
equivalent of Elephant Graveyard.
Yeah, it is.
So
it just goes to show that it's unlimited down there.
I highly recommend looking up videos of this. It is the most like visually interesting thing I think I've ever watched. Even if there's no one explaining what it is, it's the craziest looking thing to see this process.
I'd like to watch it sped up. You know, like see
like
all the things take place, like a time lapse.
I think they do have a time lapse on YouTube.
How
of
do
it.
you see it though? It's a kilometer down, isn't it? Pitch black down there.
I think how they try to find them is either by chance, they just happen to come across them while researching, or they track a dead whale and watch it.
Cool.
Try to watch it settle.
Yeah.
You know, the weird fact of all that, though, is a good point by Jeff, is like that it's dark completely for all this. Like there's no light down there. All this happens without light.
Yeah, it's all like scent based, like by or by chance.
No plants that as we know them, are hanging out down there taking part of this.
Nope.
They
No.
what are they called? One of the bacterial like kino. Oh shoot, what was it? It was. I'll try to think of it.
Kelp?
No. It was like
That was it.
Salad?
photochemo
Okay.
bacteria.
Okay.
But photo made me
FO.
think plant,
Yeah.
which made me think light in some sense.
Yeah.
And then it had the chemo part, which I thought was strange.
Yeah.
I'd have to look
Well,
into
the
the basis
radiation
of the
you were
name.
talking about.
I don't know how that radiation comes into play, unless
Yeah.
it's just like a general term they're using as far as like radiation changing.
It's radiating nutrients.
I guess I don't know.
As we continue to get better and continue to do different podcasts and stuff, I would use like Ryan's idea as like a great example, and then the Mudpuppy one would be a bad one. I came across a video on same way you did with the whale, and I was like, I just found it super fascinating. And the pitch was, what 1 gallon liquid? I'll let you all make a guess. Jeffrey,
You can't talk about this website on the podcast.
No, not the one with your mom.
She's dead.
We laugh harder. It's, what liquid is worth $60,000 a gallon?
Jeez.
Printer ink.
I know. Methylamine.
Methamphetamine?
No, methylamine.
Does that go into methamphetamine?
I don't know. Watch Breaking Bad.
Maybe. Yeah. That's what's from.
I'm gonna guess. I know, on the basis of us being an outdoor channel, I'm gonna guess some sort of anti-venom, because I know that stuff runs like it just like the processing of it is the expensive part, and that's what like really cranks it up.
Well, you're all dumb. So
You know nothing.
No one was even remotely close.
Stupid. Ryan would be the closest. AJ gets brownie points, and I don't remember what you said.
Mine was accurate.
Printer ink.
Yeah.
It's really-
Nice. That's good.
So the correct answer is actually. You were saving the last popper.
Oh,
I do like this.
Go
one.
ahead, tell your
good.
story. Go ahead. Go ahead. Enough.
it's like his guilty pleasure.
I love cap guns. I love cap guns. I love cap guns.
So funny.
Jeff just popped a popper at me for those of you just listening. Anyhow, so the correct answer is a blue liquid, if that helps. And it is horseshoe crab blood.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do...
Sounds like
Who's
a fetish.
collecting that and selling it?
And what is it used for?
Yeah.
I'm going to speak if you shut up. No, I don't like I'm being really passive aggressive. So, couple things.
I didn't interrupt you during your story.
There is something. Now, I heard the people say it as I was doing my research.
You guys ever seen the movie Hollywood Nights?
I have not seen that movie in forever. That was another dad bit.
Oh,
yeah,
my
my dad also watched Hollywood. He watched it every week.
He watched 5 movies for 6 years.
Yep.
Yeah. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Hollywood Nights.
Captain Ron.
Captain Ron. What was the one we just said? Or Smoking the Bandit.
Yep.
And Secondhand Lions.
That's a good movie.
That is a
good
great
movie.
Second Alien is a great movie. I knew
Oh,
you
and
guys.
Haley Joel Osment.
Yep.
It
Michael
was-
Caine,
Made the top 5.
Robert Duvall.
That's how he watches.
What a strange 2004 choice.
That is true. It doesn't make sense in that list.
It's my dad. Yeah.
fair.
So anyhow,
Those 4 and in the movie Chicago. The musical. Yep.
horseshoe crab blood. Okay, so this is the scientific meaning behind it. So the medical industry catches 600,000 horseshoe crabs per year. And when they do,
On purpose?
they drain 30% of their blood and throw them back.
Okay.
The guesstimate before was that 30% of them would not survive this
Procedure.
procedure.
Bloodletting.
Now, what's interesting about what's interesting about them is they've actually been on the planet, according to the science stuff, that they've remained unchanged for 450 million years. They're one of our best living fossils that exist.
That's the one that looks like a trilobite. Yeah.
It's got like a crazy shell over the top of itself.
We'll show
and
a
the- and
picture.
And then like
And the
it goes to
poker.
a tail.
And then if you flip them over, the poker goes straight up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's like you.
Yeah. If you flip me over, my poker goes straight up.
So anyhow, they harvest about 600,000 of them a year, and they take the blood. And the reason why they take 30% will stick with that first. 30% they think don't survive.
Okay.
Now there's a bunch of PETA-like organizations, which there's a lot of videos on them, that think more die, that think releasing them right away, the mortality rate's actually far worse than that, and that
Okay.
they should actually keep them and nurse them for like 2 weeks before dumping them back in. But the likelihood of that is like not going to happen because these boats look like Deadliest Catch and they're in a hurry.
That costs money, so.
Yeah. So the problem is they're worried that if we continue to harvest them at the rates we are, that we, or not harvest them, but kill them at the rates we are in order to collect their blood, then they could start to go extinct. And they were actually just moved on the endangered species list into the stage vulnerable, which endangered is the next.
Okay.
But here's the thing I found out is there's like a lot of different organizations that have endangered species lists, and some of them have different political ideologies, which
interesting.
lead them to push
Certain things.
certain things in ways that aren't true sometimes, because they're like,
Okay.
there's people that think, for instance, the wolves should still be endangered. And in certain states in the United States, when that's not the case, it's like, well, we just don't want you to hunt them. Same thing with grizzly bears.
Yeah.
Well, just don't hunt them. So we'll just leave them endangered. But when you make something endangered, you should define what
parameters are.
sustainable looks like. And then once they get there, of course, you would take them off the list.
Yeah.
But there's something political about taking them off the list that really upsets people. So
Interesting.
I guess what I'm saying
figure.
is, like, while they've been moved to that spot on the list, I learned to discredit a lot of that in my research.
Yeah. Take it with a grain of salt.
Not saying that we should keep doing it. I'm just saying that's the case.
I wonder if they move around enough. If you could take a section of the however many they're catching, like say you take 1,000 of them, you catch them, you bloodlet those 1,000, and then you put some kind of a tracker or something on them, like I assume they do with whales to track whale fall, and then let them go. And then if they continue moving around, hey, you've got numbers.
I can't imagine that there's one, that there's money in that. Two, that they would care enough at this point. They're not. No one's pushing them hard enough to be like, hey, we're about to end this.
Well, as soon as they go into vulnerable, now all of a sudden you're threatening an industry. So I bet they would be willing to put
So the
money
industry is
into-
doing it to protect themselves, is what he's saying. I disagree.
I disagree.
If the sum of humans interacting with animals in the past is any indication of how they'll handle it now,
Yeah.
what you said makes sense,
Sure.
but I don't see it.
Yeah.
It's like how China in their research boats with the whales.
Yeah.
Their
Slaughter boat.
Yeah, in their slaughter boats.
Harpooning.
Yeah. So
It is some to your point though. In some of my research, I found that they would actually harvest them along the Atlantic coast shore, and they would actually, when they would harvest their blood, some of the medical companies would actually nurse them back to health and then release them very far away to make sure they didn't accidentally harvest blood
those
twice,
ones. Oh,
because that
wow.
would for sure kill them. There's another downfall to this, is that they're saying, these scientists are saying, that even though only 30% die, it's also very, very, very unlikely for a female to mate after this happens to her. That's what they're saying.
Oh.
Again, like, I could tell like the difference in the sites in the research I was doing. It was like heavily opinionated one way or the other.
Right.
So I was having trouble figuring out who's right. I'm just giving you the information because it's very that.
How do they fish for them, and where do they live?
Netting them. They can find them in the shores as well. It's kind of like crabs, where you can get them on shores, but you can also get them on, in depths.
Has there been any attempt to farm them?
Yes. Matter of fact, that industry is booming right now. And
now you've ruined my story.
yeah,
That was the punchline. So.
the farms are kind of like,
Oh my God.
when I saw it, like the picture of it, and I'll send it to AJ so you can put it on the screen. Sorry, AJ, this one's gonna be
Not
a
there.
nightmare.
Not next to Jeff.
It's kind of messed. If you were one of these guys, as far as a horseshoe crab goes, you'd be pretty offended by looking at this facility because they like nurse them, and then there's like these jugs of blue liquid hanging off them, and there's like one hooked up to it and it's being dripped in, and then the next one comes up and they're dripping him in. Now, you're probably asking yourself is why is their blood so sought after in the first place?
Yes.
So it's got a unique property to it on how it coagulates, okay? Which means coagulation is if you had a cut and it started to gelatin, I would say the blood over the cut, thicken, and then eventually turn into a scab, and that's the process of it in our body.
It's a clot.
But theirs is very I hate that word though.
That's what it is.
Grossed me out. You got clots? I just always can visually see it, and I don't like that.
I always got them when you get a bloody nose, like a really bad bloody nose, you like pull out a giant clot.
I've never had that. You had that?
Oh my gosh, dude!
I don't know that I've ever had a bloody nose straight up.
I used to get bloody noses all the time as a kid, and I'd just sit there with a tissue on my nose holding it.
There was always that kid. You're Andrew Lilly.
It never happened at school. It was only during the summertime. During like summer break is when it would happen.
That's convenient. So you didn't have to deal with the embarrassment.
Yeah, no. And then, but like after sitting there for a while, it would all just like, it would coagulate in my nose, and I'd pull it out, and it'd be like this giant clot. Like I'm not kidding you. They'd be like this long, and you have to like wrap it around a tissue.
What?
I'm not kidding
I've
you.
never seen that.
I'm not kidding.
Did you like throw it at
Why
your
don't you
sister?
make a milkshake out of it?
Did you ever throw it at your sister?
No, I never threw them at anybody. And I didn't tend to throw my bodily fluids or blood at people.
If
It'd be
I ever
something
got
you do.
cancer and they pulled out a tumor, how funny would it be to like throw a tumor at somebody? Like, did you
true.
just throw a tumor
You're
at
alive
me?
now, you know?
Yeah.
The worst bloody nose I've ever had, you put the toilet paper in your nose, it clots, and then you pull it out, and it's been absorbed by the toilet paper. I've never had a blood snake come out of my nose.
So the horseshoe crab.
Yes.
What in the world?
So basically, like I said, they've been around for 450 million years, and they're the oldest living fossil. Now, in 1970s, an idea came about it's called LAL. LAL is a process. I heard the lady say it 3 times. I can't retain how to say it. Yeah. So it's a very complex thing, but LAL is this. Essentially what happens is you can take a small drop of this blood and the coagulate that's in it, and you can put it on anything, whether it be medical equipment or in a vaccine or in anything. And if there is any kind of bacteria in it, such as salmonella or any of the other common ones that could end up hurting somebody.
He named the one he knew and then said, etc.
E. coli?
E. coli was the other main one. I couldn't think of that.
There you go.
Jeff, get bent. So so what would happen is this coagulate would wrap around the bacteria and cause like a bubble cocoon of jelly around it. And while it wouldn't kill the bacteria, it would notify them that, oh, this is contaminated. So basically the LAL it was approved in the 1970s. It's FDA approved. Right now they're working on a man-made version of it, but they don't have it yet, and it isn't being implemented. This is the only one approved by FDA. There's arguments that there is, but then on some of these left-wing sites, it went down this rabbit hole of like, we're in a hurry to make fake meat so we can quit slaughtering poor animals. So it's, you're listening to, mumbo jumbo at that point. But the point is,
Save the crabs for climate change. That's next.
Yeah. The LAL system that is in place has saved a lot of vaccine trials too, because when they test vaccines, often on rabbits, a lot of them would they like be injecting all of them, and they give them all this bacteria, and then that would mess with the results. It would also kill a lot of them unnecessarily, And it was always just a hope up until the 1970s. So now it's like part of the process is like, make sure there's no contamination. Well, in order to make sure there's no contamination, you need horseshoe crab blood.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine,
But you said
imagine
it's
being
valuable.
Well, that's why it's valuable.
Yeah.
Because the medical industry will pay $60,000 a gallon. And you need such little.
yeah.
Such little amounts.
Imagine being the first guy to pitch that idea. Be like, you know what this is going to be good for?
Yeah.
Well,
Medical.
It's not just that. There's a lot of other research around it, but that's like the main use right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
Like a black market.
that's the fear. That's bound to happen. If it is killing the horseshoe crabs, that will happen, and it's scary to think about, which I'm sure happens, the medical industry flirting with those sorts of things, especially on such a massive scale with an ecosystem.
600,000
I wouldn't doubt
per
if they
year
did it.
they harvest.
And
Blood from-
roughly 30% they think die.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people on the other side of the aisle that are like, it's over 50, and the females won't reproduce after.
The sterilization thing is the scary part.
It's not sterilization. It's like I think it's more of like an emotional or weakness thing.
Isn't that sterilization?
Like chickens laying eggs.
Well, no,
where
because they
a
could if
bad
they'd man
storm
up.
and then they don't lay eggs for 2-3 weeks.
Wow.
Sure,
Similar to that.
sure. Yeah, it's a lot like
This-
that.
The stress
That's a great
just
example.
causes them to not be able to reproduce.
It's a great example. Yeah,
Interesting.
and loss of 30% of blood. How they arrived at that number, I don't know either. But
This kind of
the liquid's neat.
invoked a thought in my head.
Would you drink it? I know.
Maybe it is a way.
Hot, probably.
Yeah, and probably encase your entire body in gelatin.
Just thinking about
You bacteria.
That's how everyone's body works. Everyone has bacteria. Okay.
It's not just me. So shut up.
this whole thing made me think about people's thought process, all the different opinions you saw on how many died, and you could clearly see who was behind what and the endangered species. Is there a place for PETA in that sense? Like, is PETA a good thing in that sense, where they're actively working to make sure these things aren't mismanaged? I'm not defending it.
This
I'm
is
just
the first of many
it's,
conversations.
it's just a thought process that maybe
Generally.
maybe
It's like,
it's
is there a point in time where you could find yourself on the same side of the aisle?
correct. Is it has PETA been misrepresented in a sense where I know that you disagree, but I'm just saying, is there a place for these groups in that sense?
If they did what they're supposed
Exactly,
to do.
that's
Yeah,
where it
I mean,
goes.
in this case, someone raising the alarm and saying, "Hey, we should be more sustainable about this," but all they want is for it to completely stop, and we need it for certain things.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a necessary thing right now. Do we want to see the horseshoe crabs go extinct? No, but I think the problem with groups like that is that, and I've been using this example a lot though, is like the filter in their mind that they put everything through is so messed up that like once in a while they'd be on the right side of the aisle, but almost always the way that they want to get to the right spot is wrong. So like the way they want to solve the crab thing is probably wrong.
Yep.
The way they want to solve things is almost always wrong because it's based on emotion as opposed to practicality and effectiveness.
Part of the reason I bring this up is because I have a general idea of what PETA does, but I never knew a lot about it, whereas you guys kind of grew up
They throw ketchup on AJ's fur.
well, that's
It's
what I'm
coming.
saying. Like, you guys grew up in a time where that was a little bit more like that was a thing where at the end of all the movies it would say whatever it said about the animals.
They had booths at concerts plenty of times.
PETA?
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
Whereas when I was growing up, that wasn't really a thing. So it wasn't up in our face all the time. It was just kind of word of mouth. You heard about, and growing up around hunting, it was like PETA's just the worst. Well, I don't know why PETA's the worst, but that's just what I've always been told.
Sounds like you got your podcast topic for next week.
Yeah.
Talk about why
we're-
PETA is the worst.
I'm going to call someone up.
Well, thank you so much for tuning into the Green Bay Outdoors podcast. If you would, go to our website, thegreenbayoutdoors.com. AJ got done just rebuilding the whole thing and making it gorgeous. If you go there, you'll find our Huntcast series. That's our online series. Basically, the goal of that series is for you to go on a hunt or fishing expedition with us just along for the ride, as opposed to all the voiceovers and complicated episodes like we have for our main show. It's just kind of a go for the ride, easy to watch, fun experience. We also have our how-to video series on there, which is if you need to know how to do almost anything in the outdoors, you can find it in our little encyclopedia there on the website. Also, you can buy our merch if you're interested in Green Bay Outdoors hats or anything like that. And then our main television show, we made the announcement on the last episode, but the Greenway Outdoors is officially going to be coming to the outdoor block on History Channel in the second half of 2023. We'll share more information with you as it comes, but it's going to be a 10-episode series. What we're filming is spectacular. It's going to be incredible, and we cannot wait to share it with you. But next week, you can find us right back here on the Greenway Outdoors podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and stay green.